Hi, this is Peggy from WAR. So today our guest is Ines Fernandes. So Ines is the director of advanced analytics product at a very large fintech firm in Canada. Thank you so much, Ines, for being here and for participating in the survey. That's great to have your perspective. So
Thank you, Peggy. It's an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, that's great to have you. Let's get started. So first question for you. So what do you think is going to be the major lasting impacts from COVID on the financial services industry?
So it's a very large question, and I think I have like about 3 different points for that. First, I think you've mentioned this in one of your videos. We think about work from home as the most, like, oh, everybody's talking about it, is visually quite big, but not necessarily the biggest impact. At the same time, it is costing, or it is really helping us to rethink the dynamics of how we work. And in my case, my previous role was on the trading floor, so I can speak to that. It's definitely, I always see it in 2 ways: on the regulatory way and a technology way. I can tell you I was one of the last people that still worked from the trade floor. My husband was working from home for a month before I actually had my screens and my Bloomberg terminal, all of that set up, which I must say was incredibly easy. From operational side, it was very smooth. I was very happy about it. But it was that first thought of like, oh my God, I've never been able to trade from home, right?
Yeah.
And unless you were a supervisor, you were when you were not, or you're not allowed. If you were sick or took a day off, you had to like not work, and that was a first for me. And that was definitely an effort from the regulators, from compliance teams, from the surveillance teams, and you think about it, is not like if you're gonna do something bad, you're gonna do something bad from the office or from your home, right? So surveillance, and I think we are very advanced in techniques and technology to check that the work of traders are transparent, and then people are doing the right thing, and you have to trust your employees, I think. So I think in that sense, that's a huge shift regulatory wise, and that's talking operationally, right? In terms of technology, of course, the way I see it is, I see it as going to be a faster move towards electronic trading, and both in equities and in fixed income. Just because I think it's going to accelerate that. Like maybe people will think, okay, do I need that whole process of getting through a person, or can I just go through the market, given that I don't have all my tools available and whatnot? And I'm not saying that relationships will keep going, and trading is a relationship first kind of business, but I would anticipate a lot more like a faster move towards electronic communications, and anything that allows people to work faster using or being enabled by technology. So that's kind of my other piece. I will also say that, and in that theme, is that digital transformation. We've seen digital transformation from retail many years ago, and I always said this before COVID, before all of this. Retail was mainly like jumped into the digital transformation moment a long time ago, and then wealth management came along as they saw opportunities, but capital markets was always laggy, right? Like it was the last side of the business that really would transform, like call it transform, really. Like there were pieces and bits, and obviously like work with technology very well, but that big change, I think that's going to come very quickly. Again, that's on the technology front. Now I would say on the way on the investment side, and the way we think about companies, and about like on research, and how do we evaluate, I think there's going to be a big shift on how we evaluate companies, and at every stage, right? We've always relied on forecasting, That's always been the way. Look at previous charts, the relationship of your analyst with the CEO, CFO, and CTOs, and we've seen, and I've worked in sales for a bit, so that was always the way you pitch, right? And do we continue with that, or are we looking at more of a scenario type analysis,
Mm-hmm.
where how do we look at companies react in cases like this or in any other
Yeah,
possible disruption that will come, right? It
yeah,
will come. Another disruption will come. So I haven't been in sales for a bit now, but I would be interested to know if that is the way the research side is thinking about things. Scenario analysis for valuing and understanding companies.
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. The impact of the return on investments when you have no idea if the company is going to be able to weather the next storm, and what this next storm is put way more emphasis on resiliency, while
Exactly.
we're not really looking at that in the past. So
Yeah.
that's great points. Thank you. You spoke about regulation. Of course, the changes from your perspective was this
Mhm.
special agreement from the authorities that traders could actually trade from outside the workplace. Do you see any type of new regulations, maybe permanent this time, following COVID?
I think they need to go with the flow, right? I think regulators need to understand what works. If this was a big test, right? And we don't have enough data sets to say something happened during this allowance of people trading from home. But it's a good test. I think that if you capture all that's been happening from last couple of months to until we go back to the office, if we go back to the office, um, and then you can do a proper analysis, and it's like, you know what, nothing really changed, nothing really
Yeah,
uh, happened. So
yeah,
why would we not be flexible? First, so I think there's like this one. There are many other little changes that I might not be aware of that I think that this is the time to test. It's a
hmm,
forced test,
exactly. It's a
but
social experiment. And like, okay,
it's
let's
an
leverage
experiment.
let's
Yeah.
leverage that to do things we would have never done otherwise.
For a
So
while.
so that's
And
perfect example. Yeah.
right, I guess that's just one example, but and we also need to think about how companies have been, or like financial institutions have been very reactive in the last couple of months, right? So it's all, I think they've spent all of their energy, all of their power to keep stuff rolling. So it's kind of like maybe not a panicky mode, because they all have really good plans that I've seen very good plans that were developed. But these last 2 months have been, let's do whatever we can, roll out our plans to make sure everything's stable. From now on, as things start to be stable, companies and CEOs, and I think that they're going to have to start thinking about, well, now this stuff is going, what is going to change in the next
Yeah.
2, 3, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, right? And so this is now the time to look back and be like, what worked, what didn't work, what are
Exactly.
we going to do in the future? Work with the regulators, work with the rest of your industry. This is a great opportunity for financial institutions to get together and
Uh,
figure out what are best practices, right?
exactly.
Like competition, like it doesn't exist at this moment. We're all in this together.
Yeah, and like all the activities that you see that are done in banks that should not be done within the four walls. We have the opportunities now to see, well, we've always done it that way, but you know what? I don't think it was very necessary to have it in-house. Why don't we outsource that? Why don't we create a new business and do that elsewhere? So that's the thing that I really hope is going to happen. Exactly what you're mentioning, this post-mortem of,
Yeah.
okay, well, okay, we'll don't just go back in the groove like pre-COVID, trying to forget what happened. I agree with you. So next question for you is going to be a bit more macro, in the sense of global financial order, global financial stability. Do you think this crisis has going to have a long-term impact on this global stability order, or do you think that it's going to be, you know, a totally different world we're going to get to in a couple of months?
Well, I think I see this way of like, it depends. My answer is it depends, right? Like every like there are a few scenarios, right? Like the very optimistic, which is, oh, everything comes back, the virus is gone in the next couple of months or like the next 3 months. Everything recovers, we're happy, big jump, volatility goes down. But there's also this scenario, the medium term, right? Like, well, we're going to be like this for a bit. Volatility will keep the same. And scenario of, oh my God, like we're we're going to take a little bit longer to recover.
Yeah.
And that is going to affect. And I think those three scenarios apply to different regions in the world, right? Like it was, Peggy knows, my family is from Peru, and is a developing country with great growth, but its own challenges. And I would say I will package Peru and Brazil and some developing countries as maybe the recovery will be a little bit slower, while Asia, Europe have been already in the game and have kind of a medium recovery. They're seeing a different type of volatility in their markets. So with that in mind, we also have to add the layer of how are these regions working together, right?
Exactly.
Supply chains. Oh my God, like do we trust the stuff that's being done in the other side of the world, that's going to get to us on time, that's going to get to us with the quality because of the stage with where they are. So I think there's a big chat on topic on onshoring, right? Like, are we going to start building on at home? But I think one of the things we could, like, is it really onshoring, or is it actually near, like, neighbor shoring? Are we going to be using resources that are closer to us? Are we going to collaborate close, like, with our neighbors a little bit better, right? Do we keep clusters of the area? So maybe that's something that I personally think is going to evolve, but I don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
The reshoring angle is very interesting, because even if you work with your neighbors, which is, I guess, nearshoring,
You're shoring, yeah.
you end up in a situation where the margins is gonna be eroded. Companies might keep higher level of inventory to, you know, make sure they don't get in the same situation that they've been. But all of that has a big pressure on their balance sheets, and so it's going to be also interesting to see the growth of the economy over time, because this reshoring first doesn't happen overnight. It's easy to say, okay, well, I'm going from the Philippines back to Ontario. Well, great, you know, but I'd like to see that. But also, it's going to have a huge impact on the growth and the expectation from investors in terms of return on equity. Because now, if you have to have lower margin, higher level of inventory, well, you know, it's not as exciting as it has been in the last 10 years. So that's the reshoring opens so many, just reshoring, so many questions. But coming back to financial services a little, what do you see in terms of competitive positioning, and who or what type of organization do you think will benefit from the crisis?
Yeah, so definitely those companies that are positioned with a better investment in technology, and those that partner, I think would be in a better position. Definitely, like when I think about fintechs, for instance, there's so many, but and so many great ideas and so many out there. But it's really those service institutions that have the cash and have the investment and have the backup of larger organizations, or larger, like, piles of cash that might be in a better positioned to really grow at this point. I think it's a great chance. I think it's a great time to have a business identify like gaps and really think about new ideas of how things are going to change. But I think because of the situation that we are, definitely helps if we have the support um, and the backup of a larger organization.
Yeah, I think to your point with fintech, you're going to see a lot of M&A. You
Hmm.
know, a lot of small organizations, some of them, especially in Canada, are surviving with the shred credit and, you know, like that type of thing. And now it's a bit, okay, well, a time of reckoning and the opportunities to maybe team up several organizations or being acquired or things like that. But it's I agree with you. It's a time to also think about this gap and what are the business model that could be actually the next wave of fintech versus what we've seen in the past. In terms of traditional FIs, what do you see these guys doing regarding transformation?
So I think transformation is a big word that everybody's using right now. All the financial institution is been using for a long time at many levels. I find that a lot of what financial institutions call transformation is regulatory driven,
Mm,
and not so much on the innovation side. And that's just my point of view. But I think this is the time for financial institutions to sit down, like I said before, and think of how they can evolve to do the best for their clients in a way that um, they require a little bit of investment and innovative ideas to um, to really like be different, right? And I think they're like at least in Canada, I think we are in the position to be those to be the leads.
yeah.
But it is a matter of will and that decision and good decision making
Yeah,
from the
and
top.
and you know, to your points, focusing on the clients,
Oh,
uh,
client.
you know, re-anchoring to that is probably what's going to make institutions successful or not, versus this digital transformation for digital transformation's sake, a bit like projects. So I'm totally aligned with you. So lastly, but importantly, so what habits did you change during COVID, or what is the new Ines coming out of the lockdown, looking
Yeah, I know. I think COVID has given me the chance. I love traveling, and I think that was a little painful, not being able to go. I had to cancel a few trips, but it also helped me to um, sit down and reflect on what makes me happy and what makes me a person, a human being. And in my case, it's actually sports and music, and having that time to explore that while sharing some time with my family as I was doing some music with them and doing yoga with my mom and going for runs and playing tennis again. I think that's reminded me that I'm a person,
yeah,
not a robot that is always working, traveling, and has everything planned perfectly well.
yeah,
So that flexibility, I think it's been incredibly important for me, made me more calm, like
yeah.
breathe.
Well, the
Yeah,
yoga helps.
it's been positive for me, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you know, I think you need to look at that as an opportunity to, similar to what we were saying with large organization, look at what works for you and what doesn't work, and what do you want to do more or less in your life, you know. So that's wonderful you were able to do that. But thank you so much, Ines. That was absolutely wonderful. Great thoughts and a very different way of thinking. I love your approach with the capital markets. It was very, very insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Faye. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Bye bye.